Stop. Don't sign anything. That's what the voice in my head kept whispering the moment I held the pen. And I didn't know why. But if I had signed that paper that day, I would have lost everything. My name is Elena. I'm 34 years old. And this is the story of how my family tried to give me nothing and accidentally gave me everything. The day my parents announced the inheritance, everything felt normal. Too normal. We were sitting in the living room. My mother had that calm, controlled smile she always wore when she believed she was being fair. My sister, Caroline, sat beside her husband, Daniel. They looked comfortable, confident, like they already knew something I didn't. Elena, my mother said, folding her hands neatly, we've decided to divide everything equally. Equally. That word should have comforted me, but it didn't. Caroline got the house. A beautiful 2-story home in the suburbs. She got both cars. She got the investment portfolio. $200,000. I got land. 200 acres. In rural Texas. It hasn't been used in years, my mother added casually. But land is land. I nodded slowly. I didn't argue. Not yet. The appraiser's report sat on the table. Caroline's total share? Nearly $700,000. Mina? 15,000. 15,000. For 200 acres. That doesn't seem equal, I said quietly. My mother's smile tightened. It balances out in the long run. Daniel chuckled under his breath. Caroline didn't even look at me. You've always been independent, my mother continued. You'll figure something out. That sentence. It wasn't praise. It was permission. Permission to give me less and call it strength. I swallowed my frustration. Because arguing wouldn't change her mind. It never had. 3 days later, Daniel called me. I found a buyer for your land, he said, like he was doing me a favor. Already? I hadn't even processed the inheritance yet. It's a good deal, he added. Cash. Fast. How much? 15,000. Exactly the appraised value. It felt rushed. Too rushed. I need time, I said. Time for what? He replied sharply. It's just dirt, Elena. Just dirt. I drove out there the next day. Alone. The land stretched endlessly. Dry. Quiet. Unimpressive. No crabs. No structures. Just emptiness. I stood there, hands on my hips, staring at what my family believed was worthless. And for a moment, I almost believed them. What am I supposed to do with this? I whispered. The wind didn't answer. I went back home exhausted, emotionally drained, ready to sign. The papers were on my kitchen table. Daniel had dropped them off. Of course he had. I picked up the pen. My hand hovered over the signature line. And then, knock. I froze. No one ever visited unannounced. Another knock. Slower this time. I opened the door. A man stood there. Late 40s. Dusty boots. A calm, observant expression. Are you Elena? He asked. Yes. My name's Victor. I'm a geologist. A geologist? I blinked. I think you have the wrong house. He shook his head. No. I was looking at your land. My land. The worthless land. How do you even know about it? I asked. He smiled slightly. I study land patterns, mineral surveys, géological formation. I crossed my arms. And I think you should not sell it. That sentence. It hit harder than it should have. Why? I asked. He hesitated, like he was choosing his words carefully. Because what's under your land isn't worthless. My heart skipped. What do you mean? He stepped back slightly. May I come in? This isn't a short conversation. I let him in, because something in his tone felt serious. We sat at the table. The same table where the papers waited. He pulled out a folder. Maps. Charts. Soil reports. I've been tracking this region for years, he said. Your land sits on a very specific geological formation. I leaned forward. Confused. Curious. Afraid to hope. What kind of formation? He looked directly at me. Oil-bearing shale. Silence. I stared at him, processing. You're saying there's oil? He nodded slowly. Very likely. And not just a little. My hands started shaking. That's not possible, I whispered. It is, he replied calmly. And companies have been quietly buying nearby properties for that exact reason. Nearby. Suddenly, everything made sense. The rushed offer. Daniel's urgency. My mother's confidence. They knew. Or, at least, they suspected. Why are you telling me this? I asked. He leaned back. Because I saw your name on the records. And I've seen this happen before. Happen. People being pressured to sell land before they understand its value. My chest tightened. How much is it worth? I asked, barely able to breathe. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he said something else. Enough to change your life. That was all I needed to hear. I looked at the papers on the table, the ones I almost signed, and for the first time, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not fear. Clarity. I'm not selling, I said. Victor smiled. Good. The next few weeks were a blur. Legal consultations, independent surveys, professional evaluations. Every report confirmed the same thing. The land wasn't just valuable. It was extraordinary. Energy companies started calling, emailing, sending representatives. The lowest offer? $1 million. The highest? $5 million. $5 million. For just dirt. Daniel called again. This time his tone had changed. Hey, Elena, he said, overly friendly. We should talk. No, irraplia. Silence. You don't understand what you're dealing with, he insisted. I do now. Click. My mother showed up 2 days later. Unannounced. Just like Victor had. Elena, she said, stepping inside without waiting. We need to discuss the land. The land. Not my feelings. Not fairness. The land. There's nothing to discuss, I said calmly. Her expression hardened. You're being unreasonable. I almost laughed. Unreasonable. I repeated. For not giving away millions of dollars? Her eyes widened. So you know, she said quietly. Yes. Silence filled the room. Then she said something I'll never forget. We didn't think it would matter to you. Didn't matter. My worth. My future. My inheritance. Didn't matter. That's the problem, I said softly. You never thought I mattered. She flinched. For the first time, she had no response. Caroline never came. But I heard things. Arguments. Tension. Blame. The truth has a way of doing that. It doesn't need revenge. It just exists. In the end, I didn't fight. I didn't scream. I didn't demand apologies. I simply chose differently. I kept the land. I negotiated carefully. I educated myself. And when I finally signed a contract, it wasn't for $15,000. It was for generational wealth. The kind they never thought I'd have. The kind they never thought I deserved. And the best part? I didn't have to prove them wrong. Reality did that for me. Because sometimes, the most powerful revenge is not revenge at all. It's patience. It's knowledge. It's knowing your worth, even when the people who raised you don't. And walking away with everything they thought you'd never have. This is Elena, 34. And this was my story.